This is the meeting of the Lunenburg Parks Commission, Wednesday, June 4th at 7 p.m., Ritter Building Upper Conference Room. This meeting will be in person at the location provided on the notice. This was not an option to have remote attendance, unfortunately, for this meeting, but it is being taped and will be available for viewing afterwards. So, on the agenda, first item is to open the meeting, and I'd like to do a roll call around the table. We have new member here, and like to have all the names properly on the record. So, I'm Anita Shipers, the current chair.
Excuse me, I'm Mary Ann Mascari.
Chris Sullivan.
Karen Menard, current clerk.
Colleen Shapiro.
Okay.
I guess I'm current vice chair.
And we also have with us Chris Ruth, our facilities director, and Angela Clement, our recreation director. Okay, so the very first business of the meeting is to reorganize the commission. So we need a new chair, we need a new vice chair, we need a new clerk. So, take chair first. Does anyone want to make a nomination for chair?
Who has
Yeah, I
interest?
was like, don't we want to nominate Karen Menard?
You did. Second.
I feel like you had the most experience.
Unfortunately, I do.
I second the nomination.
Okay, are there any other nominations for chair? Okay. All in favor of Karen Menard as chair? Aye.
I will nominate Chris Sullivan as vice chair. Let's
I'll
go
s-
back and do it again, Chris.
I'll second that.
Okay, any others? Okay. All in favor of Chris Sullivan as vice chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Do you guys want a clerk? We don't have to have a clerk if we don't want one. But it's totally up to you. If somebody wants it, great. If somebody doesn't, there's no stress in having to have one.
I definitely don't
I know
want
you
it.
don't.
Is it taking minutes and?
So it's
What are the
actually not
responsibilities?
even it's not even minutes because right now we have somebody that does the minutes.
Oh,
So it was the clerk position was there. It was put there back when we were only a 3-member board and we needed somebody because that person did do minutes, but now we don't have anybody doing minutes. So I don't know what exactly.
So we do have a new person
Yep.
taking
And
minutes.
there's many new people in town doing minutes. So
Right.
we should be all set for a while.
Right.
okay.
So technically, it's not needed. I mean, the other only thing would be if there was correspondence that needed to be done, between the, commission and some other agency. But from what I'm seeing in the past few years, that's always just been handled by the chair or the vice chair.
Yep.
So,
We're at the clerk that went rogue. That would be me.
so I don't know. Does anyone feel a need to make a motion for a chair, or should we leave that
For clerk,
position?
you mean?
Clerk, thank you. Or should we leave that just be open?
Good with it.
Sounds like open is fine.
Okay.
We can always establish one later, right?
If we
Yep.
feel the need.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to hand the meeting over to our new chair.
Great, and I don't have half of the information, so I do have a question before we go on to 3. I know we have representatives, I know you have it down for open space. Did master planning ever reach back out to you?
No.
Okay, all right, so we'll do that when we get to it. All right, so Chris, do you have any updates for us?
I do have a couple. So first is an update as well as I need someone to pick some colors for me. So we had a former resident reach out who purchased 2 of the benches at Veterans Park, and one is for his mother, one is grandfather, I believe, and has asked us to replace the wood on them. He's offered to pay for it. I got pricing to do all of the benches because they're all in rough shape over there. That is, it's about $1,500. I don't know what the bolts are going to cost me yet.
Mhm.
He's going to pay for his portion, and these are the available colors for. We're going to go with a composite instead of the wood because it's.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
What do we have, what's the color over there now?
It's
The gray, wasn't
very.
it?
It's they're faded wood, so there's some brown.
So they were just natural
Yeah,
wood.
there's some brown ones.
Varying
There's some.
shades of wood.
So I thought if we're going to do 2 of them, we might as well do them all.
How many
And-
are there? Are there
6.
6?
Nice. And we had a question about the ability to make the donation of the money for the wood, and you were gonna check with,
To be honest, I forgot about that part of it, but it's
Okay.
It
just,
just needs to go to the select board.
okay. I know I can't imagine it's a problem.
No,
No.
I don't think it
we've
is.
done it a couple times at the senior center, and it's just a formality, really.
Okay.
Can I side note here, just so everybody knows, we had a senior, a high school senior reach out needing hours. So she reached out to me back in like April. I had nothing else to do. I actually gave her a list and I sent her to Veterans Park and I had her inventory with pictures, everything that we have over at Veterans Park. So I have that. I will at some point get it uploaded online. And that was one of the things that I'm like, oh, these benches are in rough shape.
So
So-
the ones with little pen marks next to them are the available colors.
Is the cement going to the cement,
The cement backs,
right, is the,
Pros and cons of darker versus lighter, do we know?
I don't know how well you know Veterans Park, but it doesn't get a whole lot of daylight over there.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's,
I like anything except the island mist or the lava rock.
see, and that's why we picked, because I would have gone with Island Mist.
Oh, no, all right, I gotta see.
I'm in your canoe, Anita. Probably like middle of the road, right?
See, I
What's
was
the-
actually thinking something like the island mist because it looks like the
Weather,
wood
right?
that's
Right.
weathered.
Ah.
I would have said Island Mist too.
I don't like the
Oh,
lava
that's
rock.
just, I'm just one.
I don't like Lava Rock.
No,
No,
that's
I
too
don't
red.
like lava rock.
I like the
Mhm,
top
mhm.
two, either the Tiki Torch or the Island Mist.
you slide this way?
You wanna
I
put
do
your
like the
thing in
reddish.
it?
See
Yeah. Come on, you can't tell from down there which one's island mist and which one's tiki torch.
I'd go Havana Gold or Island. Island Mist is like gray with the gray though, because it's going into the cement. So it's not, do we want a different, I don't know, do you want a different tone? I don't know.
You could have just surprised us, you know.
No,
Yeah.
I don't pick colors.
I was saying narrow it down to 2 and then
You
pick
had
one.
Angela.
I don't pick colors.
I'd go with Havana Gold.
Havana Gold. What is going on?
Just
That's
adds
the
a different
second
color.
one?
I'm not opposed to Island Mist, it's just.
I think
it's
that's
just
good middle
gray
of the
on gray.
row,
It's
you
just gray
know.
on gray.
The Havana Gold.
Yeah.
I don't know how any of them fade, and
They
You know,
shouldn't really fade too
If
much. I
it's,
mean, mine,
if it's the
mine's
shade,
in the
they
bright
probably
sun.
won't fade as much.
I was just
Yeah.
thinking, any kind of moss or anything on them. I mean, we can always wash them once a year.
I
but-
have the gray, it's not the Havana mist, on my front kitchen steps and I hate it.
Was,
I have
was
gray
yours
on
an
my whole
old, was
deck.
yours an older version of the Trex? Though?
Yes.
The original Trex did not age well.
Yeah.
We had the same thing at my parents' house, and it's awful.
Yeah, we have the new gray Trex, and I like our gray Trex, but it's not Island Mist. What do you think?
I want different options.
There are no other options.
No, Havana Gold's fine. Tiki Torch is fine. I don't, you know.
Marianne, what did you like?
A warmer tone, you
So,
know, versus
like,
gray is sad.
The,
So, to me, so-
like the Havana Gold?
yeah, sure.
You too, look at that.
You know,
Yeah, that's
I
fine
gave
by
my
me.
2 cents.
That works.
Yes.
Everyone likes Savannah Gold?
Looks like old barnwood.
Okay.
Old barnwood.
All right.
You need a motion.
I have no idea.
I don't think so, but if you want one, we can make one.
I don't think we need a motion.
Okay.
Uh,
All right, what else you got, Chris?
The next update I have is over at Wallace Park. The merry-go-round thing has been damaged repeatedly by residents.
Oh.
There were some Facebook comments about it not being safe, which we checked and were not.
The screws.
I went over there and rubbed my hand over those screws for 5 minutes. There's not a burr, a sharp edge anywhere. The only person that actually reached out to me, I don't know that they ever actually saw it or not, but it was, I think they saw the Facebook post maybe or something. But basically 2 of the handles, one's been stolen. One is at DPW to get welded back together. And then the resident also mentioned, which I didn't know, there was a swing
There's a swing missing.
that was missing from apparently 5 years ago.
Is it this one here?
Yes.
All right, so here's the situation.
I have the pictures. I talked to the
That
fire
is
chief.
that is the swing that is our accessible swing, and the resident that has contacted you has a child that has an accessibility need. So I actually didn't realize that was missing.
Well,
there.
originally, because when they said the swing was taken down, I thought like a whole structure was gone.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was just
the
a swing.
Yeah.
The fire department gave me pictures. Apparently, a large child got in it about 5 years ago and had to be cut out.
Which is interesting because it's designed. It was designed for a larger.
It was a 12-year-old.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's even a design for adults, if I remember correctly, because I was
Well,
part
there's
of the
the
crew.
two
that,
sides.
Right.
So-
Okay, so they were. In
They were in the toddler side.
Okay. Sweet Jesus.
So I managed to track down the manufacturer, which was a bit of a trick, and got
Why
price
didn't you just ask?
because your phone went straight to voicemail.
Well, I was in the middle of nowhere, Colorado.
Well, your phone went straight to voicemail.
Okay. Next
I-
time, send me a message.
I didn't even have the plans.
Oh, I have all that too.
Then you and I are gonna have a chat about record storage. But, the price to replace both of them is $3,050.72, and the pricing is going up on the 1st of July.
All right. So, what
Swing.
the price for the swing and the twirly thing?
The
I'm gonna-
two rails are the $12.84, and the swing is $12.98.
So I am at the point now with this roundabout that I wonder if we just have it removed. And I hate to say that because I think it's well used, but that is the one piece of equipment over there that is constantly, it seems constant in being damaged. And this time around, it is not, let me see if I can pull up a picture. It is not damage that I would want any child around. You know, it's a safety issue at this point.
So when the handles are peeling off, it becomes a safety issue, and part of it is they've been fixed so many times, and it's just there's no metal left
Right.
to them.
Right.
I can tell you right now, it'll be significantly more money to remove it,
Okay.
which we don't have,
Oh wow.
because that's bringing in heavy equipment, demolition to get it out, the concrete base, putting wood chips back. That's
True. Okay.
I can say with confidence it's more than double.
So this would be replacing both missing handlebars and the,
And the swing.
In this swing.
but on the twirly thing, it's the bar that's bent out that will be replaced. The one on the other side, which seems to be missing, will be replaced, and the bar that connects them.
Yeah, the bar that connects them is actually one piece. Well, it all connects to the center post.
Can we put an inexpensive security camera over there with internal storage that's not connected to Wi-Fi? So that when this stuff, at least we could put up a sign that says monitored by.
Yeah, so those are the two pieces that were stolen. I would need to check on the legality of that. The only option really would be a trail camera, because we have no internet there
Right.
to run them.
But I'm thinking like mine, the security cameras on, it's mine, the
How about
security.
over there?
The security
that's best.
cameras on
You
my
should.
house are hardwired, but there's a memory card in them. So if I wanted to review something that was on there, I would just go out and pop out the memory card. And it records for, I think it's like 30 days or something. I'm just a thought,
Then
something
you
to
wipe the
think
card
about.
and start again.
That's the problem, is it automatically wipes the
It
card.
automatically wipes it, so we would have to, something would have to be reported within whatever days that we have for coverage on it. It's to the point now where because we had a piece over here that was damaged. I don't know if it was before or after you.
Before my time, I know one of these windows was
Yeah.
replaced.
I don't understand what they're doing over there.
It's the same thing over at Kids Kingdom.
Okay.
I mean, the previous senior center director, her daily thing from 2 to 3 o'clock was yelling at the teenagers to stop breaking things.
Okay.
It's,
So we're not alone.
there's not a whole lot we can do with it, unfortunately. And any camera that goes over there cannot record audio. I know that for sure.
Okay.
So I have to check with the chief and see legality-wise of what we can do. I know we can get away with the trail cam because they were okay with that down at Marshall when people were throwing mattresses in the dumpster.
Okay. Well, just something to think about.
Yeah, but that showed, you're
Do
at least seeing who's causing
we have a
Well, it
funding
just
source?
might be a deterrent.
Yeah.
Right.
deterrent or
Maybe
catching
we
who's
just put a
doing
sign up
it.
there.
Yeah, but even if
What is it?
I don't know
That-
what the legalities are, but
That's actually
Um,
worse, having the sign and not having the camera.
the so do we have a funding source if we were to replace these pieces?
It's gonna have to come out of the revolving.
Do we have enough money in the revolving?
Yeah.
Okay.
We would just need that like invoice in like probably sooner than later, I assume.
Yeah.
Well, pricing's going up July 1st.
Right.
we'll have to do
That too.
Well, I move to replace them for now, but to watch what's happening with the twirly gig.
I'll second that.
And then the other thing over at Wallace is, we thought we had someone on state contract to redo the court. Turns out they're not correctly on the state contract. They can still do the work, it has to get posted for 3 weeks before we can, so it's probably gonna not get done until September just because of scheduling at this point.
Okay.
Unless someone comes in with a lower number that's got more availability, but
And that was being funded through capital?
yes.
Okay.
And right now it's looking like I'm under budget for that, so I'm not worried about money on it, but.
If they can't do it till September, October, would it make more sense to push it out till April? Okay.
It was originally, I was trying to get it done in July. It's the previous repair was not done correctly,
Correct.
and the repair is peeling up, so it's
Oh.
gonna create more of a tripping hazard.
Correct. Can we keep up with the warranty on that? So can we do inspections so that we can?
It's
Try to
probably
keep
only
it
gonna
in.
be a 1 year.
Okay. Better than this. I feel like that surface didn't even last a year.
Yeah, it was all in the repair, is why it failed.
Okay.
The other thought we had was stripe it for a basketball and pickleball.
I really like that idea.
I'm telling you, that would be like a huge hit. Like, but we would probably have to get portable toilets over there as well as another thing I would say is might be an issue.
That
We're gonna get
is-
complaints if we don't have them. Just saying.
I'll take the complaints.
Yeah. I'll
I-
take the complaints.
The porta potties, I think it's just over there is gonna be,
Oh no, I
That's
agree with that
inviting.
fully. I fully agree with that.
It would have to be locked. It would have to
Yeah.
be open.
Right.
yeah, it's, and we don't have staff to lock
No.
porta potties and monitor them. And,
Unless we run programs through,
yeah, if you're running a
That.
program,
which I'm
Yeah.
thinking we could run pickleball programs outside that way, which I think would have a good thing. But they would need toilets if we were gonna do that. So just
something to think about for sure.
Yeah.
But
I think that's a great idea to get it lined for pickleball. Definitely.
We need to provide, so we line up pickleball, then is that netting and so forth that needs to be over there? It will come with their net, like what happens?
There's portable nets you can set up.
Yeah.
So it's more of if residents want to use it, set up for that. Bring your net and set it up.
They bring that, good.
Anything we leave over there would, I mean, they stole the broken merry-go-round.
We're not putting nets, we're
Yeah.
not putting
Yeah.
nets over there.
No, if it was just stripe it, so if somebody wanted to set up and play, or if Angela was running a program,
Yeah.
because she has the portable nets.
Yeah, and they're relatively cheap and they're really easy to set up.
Just
So
make sure we're not putting nets in there.
no, I don't. That'd probably be pricey anyways if you were doing actual like.
Yeah, they
That's
they
I
have
wonder
a-
if we could get the library to, so the library has some really cool items that you can check out.
Mhm.
Like, you can check out an American Girl doll. Like, it's the amount of stuff that they have. I'm
Nice
wondering
and
if,
cool, like-
I'm wondering if, like, you know, if
Those are
they
expensive
had,
now.
They are.
yeah, I'm wondering if they had, like, and I think you can borrow pickleball paddles from them. I'm wondering if, like, we could arrange something with them to even have some nets over there, and if people wanted to go over and play, they would just go to the library, check them out, and set them up and then return them.
Yeah.
You know, the library would handle the,
That's not a bad idea.
That's a good idea.
That
Yeah,
sort of
we
thing.
have one. I can't remember how much it was. It was like pretty cheap on Amazon, and it's like sturdy. Like makes it through teenagers and things.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I've never played pickleball, but the point is for the ball not to hit the net, right? So if you're playing
Yeah,
right.
but
the-
even like we move ours around and stuff, and it's
you should see us old people play though, sometimes we don't get it over them.
yeah, that is sometimes a problem.
How would that be communicated to people? Like this is a new
We could put a sign
availability
up. We could put a
at
sign
the
up over
library
there at,
or,
the,
or
at,
the, yeah.
at Wallace. You know, if you want to rent the pickleball,
Yeah, and we
That's-
could also do something where we
Social
could
media
get the
stuff.
social media and the ledger, like once the court's resurfaced, we can have the ledger run an article on how we just resurfaced the court and here's what it now is, and this is where you can bring your own net or you can.
Yeah. If we did
So
more
you could
structured
spread the
stuff.
word, too,
Well, I was gonna
through-
say that too, and if we did more structured stuff, obviously at that point it'd be like having people register for it, and then I'd actually just be like making sure I'm over there to set it up and take it down. but that's pretty easy.
There any noise issues that we need to worry about? It's a more congested area over there. I mean, we hear all the pickleball noise.
The only thing I can think of over there is any programs we're running, we should probably leave one of the basketball courts open,
Yeah.
because that's probably one of the busiest parks we have.
Yeah.
As far as, I've never gone by in nice weather and not seen someone in the court.
And we're not getting complaints right now on basketball over there. I don't remember the last time we had a complaint. So,
The closest house has noisy chickens, so they may not notice anyway.
there you go.
Would we only line one of those courts then?
I would line them both so we could go back and forth. I don't think there'd be any cost savings not to line both.
But what I'm saying, if the thought process there is to make sure we're always leaving one of those courts open for basketball, if they're both lined for pickleball. I mean, pick my son up at Groton Country Club after work or after golf, and the tennis courts down, there's 60 people at those tennis courts playing.
Oh wow.
Really?
Like, it's nuts.
I almost think should be a first come, first served thing.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, so if
I was
people
just
get
thinking-
down there and they're playing pickleball, then that's what the game is. Either grab a racket or wait until they're done and you can play basketball.
Yeah, I was just thinking if we're running a program,
Yes.
just to
yeah.
only run on one side.
No, definitely, I agree with that.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
no, that makes
in a
sense.
formal capacity.
Yeah, we
Right.
were doing it
Where-
formally.
okay, all right.
Please excuse me for catching up.
It's good.
What is the deal with the school pickleball / tennis
So that's
courts?
all run by so
schools.
that's the schools. So it falls under the jurisdiction of the schools. So I don't know when they're open and when they can be used. I don't know if they allow use during the day when school's in session.
Right, but say after 2:30.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
It's all up to
it's
them.
all up to them.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I
Thank
think it's a free for all.
Generally, off school hours,
Yeah.
I think it's open to the public, but,
Yeah.
but then they do run some formal
you. Okay.
programs.
The last update I had was in regards to the weeds at the town beach. Our original plan, our original contractor was completely useless and just dragged us along for a while. The original plan was to hydro rake, which might as well be impossible because of permitting issues and everything else. And it also turns out that if we were to hydro rake and the current's blowing towards Arrive and they get a whole bunch of weeds, they're now our problem. So the new plan is to use diver-assisted suction harvesting, which is a pontoon boat out on the water with a bunch of air lines running down and divers in the water and a vacuum hose. And they hold the vacuum hose up and just keep sticking weeds into it and they get sucked up onto the boat. Also needs to be permitted. We have contracted with a consultant to start the permitting process, which is never fun when it comes to anything on the water. They're actually going to be out there tomorrow. Part of it is we need to know where the weeds are and what they are. So they're going to be out there tomorrow starting the mapping.
I assume they're doing more closer to the shore.
They're going to map
Space.
everything first, and
Okay.
then we're going to decide where
Okay.
to start with the suction harvesting. But yeah, I mean, once you're beyond 6-7 feet deep,
Right.
you
I was
know,
just making sure.
Yeah.
And will they be the ones that will do the permitting process for us, or do we
so
have to do that?
the consultants are doing all of the permitting 100% for us.
Good.
It's another contractor that I had tentatively lined up for before the beach opened, but the permitting is taking longer.
They give you a sense of what the timeline, like once they start their vacuum sucking process or whatever, like what's the impact to the beach being open and so like how long is that process?
So right now, the thought process, and a lot of it's due to bidding rules and totals. We're gonna start with about 3.5 days of them in the water, sucking it out and seeing how it goes, and then from there we'll reassess and we'll still have money left in the capital account to see if we need more or less. The people.
Would that impact? That would obviously I would assume impact the town beach being able to be open or.
It probably would be. We might be able to close off half the beach, leave half open type of deal, and
Yeah.
do one side then switch. The permitting process for this will last 5 years, so we have
Oh,
5
that's
years
great.
to bring them in and out, and we're also having them put the chemical treatment on there. Because once the weeds are out of there, you can treat it with the chemicals easier and kind of keep up with it.
And does that just have to be permitted by our local?
No.
It's gotta go to the state.
Well, it gets submitted to state reviews it.
Okay.
If it was the hydro rake, there was a chance we had to go all the way through the Army Corps of Engineers, and
Oh.
the estimates we got were between $10,000 and $80,000 for a permit that was only good for a year.
Okay.
So that's why we were going away from the hydro raking.
Okay.
There's a lot of disagreement at Mass DEP of what permits are required for all of this, and I spent about an hour on the phone with someone very helpful over there, but it's a pain in the ass.
Do we know of any other town that's done it that we could just follow their lead?
Yeah, Lunenburg.
That's us, Chris. We can't follow our own lead.
Hickory Hills and Shirley have both done it.
Okay. Anything else?
As long as it doesn't come up at town meeting again, no.
That was remarkable for the record.
No, it wasn't remarkable.
Like, the Marshall Park weed discussion
It came up at town meeting.
The weeds?
For 45 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
on the capital plan.
And he let them keep droning
where,
on about it?
Where it wasn't gonna get changed. Yeah, there was a 45-minute.
Everyone wanted to know.
And
why
I was
we were
not
in the
prepared
shadows.
at all for that, and I at one point had to stand up and speak. I was like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
Like,
Of
it's
all
just-
the articles I thought would be controversial, I didn't.
it
didn't
never
think
would
that
have
was
happened
gonna
in
be.
that one.
And I mean, we were
Missed
like
it.
an hour into town meeting at that point, and everybody knew it was like what was coming.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ah,
that was
town meeting
unexpected.
has a mind of its own. All right, so you're done, Chris.
I am all
Did
done.
you? So you got a hold of Cindy Mack
Yes.
from Miracle? Okay.
That would have been helpful information. That was an entire day.
I
Do you have any other records of any other parks? Because I have
No,
zero.
I don't have
Probably.
any. I don't have anything. The only reason I knew that one was because I was involved with the build. Because that one was originally Wallace Park. For those of you who don't know, the playground, the old playground equipment was removed. There was a capital plan item that was putting one little dinky small play structure there. A resident in the neighborhood, Chris Letarte, wanted more, rightfully so. So he started doing stuff of Friends of Wallace Park, and then he ended up putting in an article to town meeting, and town meeting ended up funding it. And obviously Parks got really involved at that point because it was now funded through town meeting. So that's the only reason I know all this. And Cindy and I have become friends over the years.
She was very helpful.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. And they let us do a volunteer crew for the installation of that. They had their people that came. They had like 5 people, and then we probably had 20 people from the town. Just random volunteers that wanted to help.
It was nice when you call someone and she's like, "That's the one behind the basketball court, right?" And I was like, "Oh God, I got to the right person."
Sorry, I wish I had known you were going down that rabbit hole.
We spent about 45 minutes climbing over every structure trying to find a tag on it anywhere to see who made it. or
Yeah,
anything.
miracle.
Yeah.
Yep. Alrighty then.
It's a miracle, you know.
All right, Angela, what do you got?
So I guess I'll start with beach stuff. Planning on opening June 23rd. I don't know how long. You're not sure about the weed situation, obviously.
Figure on at least a month, minimum.
Okay, so that being said, we're planning on opening June 23rd. We are doing staff training the 20th to the 22nd. So Jared's our new beach director. He's been part of the beach for a long time, so he's already hit the ground running with doing a bunch of stuff to prepare. We're fully staffed on lifeguards, so that's good.
Hired the last one last week.
Yep, so we're all set. We're all staffed. In terms of lessons, we are doing it a little bit differently. Just because the first session, we only have one returning lifeguard that has done the swim lessons with us before. We're only doing one session at a time. Normally, we run 2 to 3 at the same time. So they're all 30 minutes, but we usually run like 2 or 3 at the same time. We can't do that for a session, so it's definitely a little bit lower. In lieu of that, we actually opened up afternoon ones. I haven't had like a ton of interest, so everything's open right now. You can get your beach passes, you can get swim lessons, all that. It's definitely in the morning is still the most popular, but I think that when we get a little bit closer to it, I think we're going to start getting interest in the afternoon ones. I haven't really been like pushing it right now because I've just been sending email blasts and stuff's been filling up pretty quickly. But we are offering it 4:30 to 6 o'clock. My only concern about that would probably be people being like, oh, is there still enough room at the beach? I think running them from 4:30 to 6 isn't going to be a big deal because I think at that point, if people have been there all day, they clear out for the most part, and I know it's not the busiest around that time. So just like first session, we have 24 in the morning that are coming in, and like I said, that's just one at a time. We're going to be running from 10 a.m. to 11:30. We do have 6 registrations for the afternoon of session 1. Session 2, we have 32 registrations for the morning session. That one we're at least planning on opening up 2 to 3 again like we used to. 2 of the new lifeguards coming in are definitely interested in teaching swim lessons, so we just have to get them trained for a session. But other than that, we're good to go. We have more people scheduled for the afternoon session. For that, we have 6 also. And then we still have 25 registrations for session 3, which usually at that point it starts dying down a little bit. Just in terms of dates, we're not starting the first week, which last year we did start the first week, the beach opened, and it was kind of chaotic. So we're going to be starting the week of the 30th for swim lessons. They're 2 weeks long, Monday through Friday. We do have like a week in between some of them, which is helpful just in terms of just making sure we have everything done and there's enough room on the beach and people
You
are
run it
happy.
on the 4th of July, this 4th is Friday?
No, it's not going to run on the 4th. I know the beach is open though, but we're going to skip the 4th. I don't really have much else for the beach. The only thing I would say is that I didn't open the like Lunenburg employees thing yet because I don't know if you guys need to.
Did we get any last year?
We didn't get any, but I also feel like this year I'd probably have Jen send out a blast to everybody letting them know that we are offering it. I just want to check with pricing on you guys.
We didn't change pricing at the beach this year. I would leave everything the
Okay,
same.
all right, sounds good.
So just so you know, Marion, last year we did an employee rate at the request of somebody down at the DPW. So we put that in place last year, and we didn't change any rates at the beach for this year. So
Yeah, I want to
whatever they
say
were last year.
the only thing is like I want to say we did 44 for a family pass for them, which normally like if you're a resident, it's 44 for like an individual. So I think that's what we did. If you want to keep it the same, I'll check though.
Okay.
But I think if, like I said, especially with the fair, I had Jen like send an email blast out to like the town employees. I think she'd be willing to do that again, just letting them know. And I think that'd actually get the word out better than just me like sending out to the MyRec system because not that many people from the town are probably in it.
And again, excuse me for catching
Yeah,
up.
no, that's okay.
So how do people know of what's available through, like, about the swim lessons and stuff?
So I
'Cause
send
didn't-
stuff
I
through
didn't know that.
MyRec. I do like Facebook posts, stuff like that.
LunenburgRecreation.com will take you to our.
Yeah, and I also can have Kara at Town Hall kind of spread that also.
Okay.
But I do a lot of Facebook blasting as kind of like, we have an Instagram, but it doesn't seem to be as...
So you have a Facebook group?
It's just, we have a Lunenburg Facebook page, like Lunenburg Recreation.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I usually will post
I will
something on
join.
there, and then I'll share it to like all the Lunenburg groups or like the surrounding town groups as well.
Gotcha, I didn't know that.
So that tends to get a good amount. Also, if you're in the MyRec system, which there's probably like, I don't know, like 10,000 people in it, when I send an email blast, it goes to like everyone who's emails
So
in there.
Marion, Lunenburg Recreation connects into MyRec, which is the platform that we use to where Angela puts all of our programming. If you
Okay.
go there and you create an account, even if you create an account just for yourself, you don't have to register for anything. Just create an account.
Yeah.
Anytime
Yeah.
Angela sends out an update, you'll get it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I would do that just so you know too.
Yeah.
But I found out like that's kind of a good way to get the word out as well as like Facebook. Like I said, we have an Instagram. I don't use that as much because we don't have that many people following us. We don't follow that many people. So I'll do that every once in a while. But like even when we're running like programs throughout the summer, I'll take like videos and pictures of the kids and doing whatever, and then usually I'll post it on Facebook. So that's where I'd look.
Then the MyRec is the same for her other programs. So when someone's
Yeah.
signed up for a soccer camp,
Yeah.
they're now getting emails for the beach and everything else.
Yeah, so it's a pretty broad system. I have had like a bunch of companies reach out being like, do you want to switch from MyRec? And at this point, obviously, because like I only have so many hours in a day, I'm not going to do that yet.
Yeah.
It's something I'm thinking about. Not that MyRec's horrible, but I'm not sure it's super user friendly.
It's not.
The only nice thing is the credit card processing.
The credit card processing is nice. But other than that, like I'm not sure it's super user friendly. And people can go to the town beach and like get a membership there, but I think that's harder for me to track people doing it that way. So that's my only issue with it. And I also do kind of like the POS system that they have for the beach house. But just something to think about if we ever in the future want to try different programming. And then just in terms of programs, I have my first summer program the week after school gets out, so the 23rd of June. That one's almost full already. It's the Snapology, which they're coming 3 times this summer. So we're already almost full for that. That one's a full day program. We're also running from 7:21 to 7:25. We're running a program with them again, half day, full day. And we also have Best Soccer running that week. We're about 25 registrations into Best Soccer.
Can you? I had a question
Yeah.
today when I saw the summer stuff go
Yeah.
out. There's a half-day session for Snapology in the afternoon
Mm-hmm.
from 12:30 to 3. I think that's what I.
It's 12:30 to 3:30, I think. Yeah.
12:30
Yeah.
to 3:30, and Best Soccer ends at noon.
Yeah.
is there a way that we could offer those people that are doing best soccer
Yeah.
to do that? But I guess if we did something like that, we just have to make sure there's that gap in there. We need a
Right.
plan for that. I
Right.
guess is what I'm, because right now if I was to look at it and say, well, if I register my kid,
Right.
I've got to come and get him at noontime and hang out with him until 12:30.
Yeah.
Where for a working parent that may not be.
Yeah. Well, I don't know like how it would be like, because we were also, I don't know if you remember, there was a point where I was trying to offer stuff directly after school at TCP, and I was wondering if there's any way to get transportation like from the school to TCP, and they were like, no, we can't do that, even though extended day was there. And I was like, I offered to like walk the kids from there to there. I don't know if there's like an issue with that, but I'd be fine doing that for like that week. I might be hurt every day, just because it's a lot going on. I wouldn't mind just walking the kids from the soccer field there,
Right.
and then the program doesn't start till 12:30.
Is that one on the turf? The best.
That one's on the
Soccer.
turf.
Soccer.
Yeah. So I wouldn't mind walking the kids over, and also like usually from 12 to 12:30, the kids that are there full day, they do like lunch, and then they'll usually have like some outdoor time or playground time or gym time. So usually that 12 to 12:30 is plenty of time for a kid to like have a snack and then like or lunch or whatever, and then start with the Snapology program. So
Yeah, it was just an idea. I was like, I wonder if that would work.
yeah, I think so. Like I said, I don't know like logistically if I'm allowed to do that. If I am, that's totally fine.
I
by
can't
me.
imagine why you wouldn't.
Yeah, I think I would
to
just
do it.
basically have to sign the kid out of best soccer and then just walk them over, which I don't have a problem with. So that's definitely an option. We were doing something like similar to that, but the only difference is like during April and February vacation, it was like the Snapology program and the multi-sports program in the gym, so it was like easier because it's right there.
Right.
So I could just walk the kid over, and we did have somebody do that, which I think we had good luck with because a lot of parents, like they're full day, so that if they want to do, like multi-sports in the morning and then Snapology in the afternoon, it's kind of perfect.
Yeah.
So that's definitely an option. Other than that, we have the 2 multi-sports programs running, so it's the ages 5 to 7, then the ages 8 to 12. Those are 2 separate weeks, and then we have the Snapology again. Usually with the multi-sports, we usually fill up in the older age group, and then usually the younger age group, we get like the minimum, which is like 7 or 8 kids. Right now we have 3 in both, so I think it's still kind of early on, but I'm going to keep I didn't make individual flyers for these yet, so I'll start doing that soon.
Okay.
I think that's all I really have. I am going to open fall programs soon. I know things are going to be a little bit different just because the school's moving out of there, everything like that. I think that'll make us be able to run more programs. I just don't know, logistically how that looks. So, we have people already interested in, using the gym space for, we had futsal in there, once or twice a week for, 3 months. So we have interest in that. I can open more pickleball sessions in there, which I think will be good. And then we have more classroom space to use, too, so I can run arts programs at the same time.
Yeah, we're planning right now 2 classrooms dedicated to you.
Okay, that's perfect. That's really all I
awesome.
need. That's all I need.
Great.
So I think we're going to have a lot of stuff running. I just don't know how much I can handle and, the logistics of that, especially when it gets to the winter and I'm, having, volleyball in the gym till 8 p.m., the locking up thing I think will be easier now. I just don't know what it's going to look like in
Yeah.
terms of, a locking
I
system.
think we really need to get on the cultural council stuff too, and
Yeah.
trying to get, so the cultural council, I didn't know this, they offer grants, and it's a considerable amount of money that they do for grants, and the library gets a ton. I don't think the senior center, they might have had a couple in there, but we didn't know about it, so we had never applied for them, and they're super simple to apply for.
Okay.
And, Jen, Warren had, we had talked to her about it at one point, and she was like, yeah, it's so easy to
Yeah.
do, so we should try to take advantage of that, and that
Yeah.
would be just, coming up with a couple of ideas.
Yeah.
You can go to the Mass Cultural Council website and click on the different towns, and you can see the programs that they offered.
Okay.
And I mean, in where your time is limited, maybe we choose, we see what other towns in the area were offering,
Yeah.
and then contact those people and be like, figure out the funding and
Yeah.
what they charge, and then
Yeah,
submit
if
it that way.
someone can help me with,
Yeah, I can
getting
help
that
you.
done, absolutely. Yeah, I'll take whatever we can get.
Do you have anything else?
I don't think so, unless you guys have questions.
Nope.
I just a great job on the
Fair.
fair.
It was so much fun.
You pivoted, adjusted with weather. It's
Yeah,
it's a
yep.
great
I
day,
was in the
it's
dunk
weather.
tank for a little bit.
Weather got there.
Yeah, it was fun. I would
So
definitely
was
do it
good
again.
attendance?
I would say, considering the weather, yes. We had a good amount of volunteers help too, which was extremely helpful. I didn't need volunteers where I thought I did in terms of parking because the police just gave us so much help with the detail. I would definitely do things a little differently if we do it next year. I will say that, and just be like a little more prepared in different ways. But all in all, I think it turned out really good. The morning was horrible weather, basically. We ended up having to move everything from like the adult activity center down to like where like TCP is. So everything the morning of got shifted to a completely different spot than it was supposed to be. But considering it got sunny around like 1, and it was a good turnout.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
the vendors seemed pretty happy too, and I think everyone else seemed happy. So yeah, like I said, I'd do things a lot differently this year, like next year, and I could use more help, I think, but it was good. And thank you for helping.
Awesome. All right, Angela, you don't have to stick around. You don't either.
Don't have to tell me twice.
I was just gonna stick around for the start of the Marshall Park,
Okay.
just to mention the sewer thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
so next up is
Thank
Marshall
you,
Park
guys.
project.
Thanks.
Next steps regarding septic system, status of design, future presentation of funding requests. And I'm gonna look to Anita on this because I don't have the updated information.
Yeah, so right after town meeting, I had a conversation with the town manager, Jennifer Warren, and said, what are our options in terms of, continuing any design work or whatever for the Marshall Park. We still have money that's been appropriated for that. We haven't spent it all. There's not a whole lot left, but there's still some money. And she said we should absolutely try to continue to work to finalize the design as much as the available money allows us to. So I had reached out to both Tom Doolittle from Skanska and Ray from RDLA, and I didn't send it to you, Chris. I apologize.
No worries.
So I asked them several questions. If we decided to move ahead with continuing design on the Marshall Park, how much would that cost us? Should we be looking to do the full design or the small design? Then I also, Chris and I had discussion about the sewer over at Marshall Park, and he had mentioned, and I'll let you explain that before I go on with what I was going to say.
So, initially, the $100,000 from the Board of Health was for septic only, and the Board of Health agent didn't think connecting to sewer was feasible just because of the makeup of the board. Sounds like the new board that's now in would be more open to using that money to connect sewer over there. So it freezes up some options if we wanted to think about just putting the bathroom back for now or any of that.
So that 100,000, they've already expended some of it on the design,
Yep.
with Dillis and Roy. With what's left, would that be enough with what's left to move forward with something?
It would require some additional money no matter what, I think.
Okay.
The only thing they said is at some point we have to make a decision. The money's not going to sit there forever.
Right.
And the only other comment Marshall-wise I would have is just so anyone listening or watching knows that the money we have left appropriated was still ARPA funds, correct?
Yeah, I think there's still some few ARPA funds left, but there's a few other dollars there from other sources too.
Just so people know that the money, if we don't spend it, goes back to the state. It's not going back into free cash. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
The sewer, the Board of Health funds only covers, that was the slab and the plumbing, right? It doesn't cover structure.
yeah, it doesn't cover the building structure.
right. So when I spoke to both Tom and Ray, one of the questions I had for them was, do we still have any outstanding invoices with them? And so I got Ezekiel, our finance director, to give me what he had as the current balance, and I took out the $16,000 from the invoice that was processing through from our DLA at that time, and brought us down to about $140,000. But when I talked to Ray, he had said he also had a $26,000 bill that was coming through, which we just signed off on tonight. So that brings us down to like $112,000. And then Tom Doolittle said that he's still got a $3,500 bill coming. So we're just under 100,000 of the appropriated Marshall Park monies to use. So I talked to both of them about, okay, what do you suggest we do? Chris Ruth had this idea that, you know, if we could use the 100,000 from the Board of Health, and you know, what should we do? And Ray's comment was that if we're going to be digging a trench over to Mass Ave for sewer connection, that it doesn't make sense to do it unless we're going to also add in the other utilities at the same time, because it makes no sense to go back and have to redig everything a second time. And we can't afford to add the utilities in right now. We just don't have the money. Tom Doolittle, he didn't comment on whether or not we could put, you know, any kind of bathroom building anywhere. He just, you know, Ray just kind of stayed silent on that. Tom Doolittle said he would highly recommend that we not work to put a new bathroom in right now if we're at all thinking of continuing on with the master plan design to either promote the smaller project, you know, what we've been calling phase 1+, or the full project, because that would just cause a lot of redesign that needs to be done. And it's already, you know, pretty well set there. So neither of them were very positive about the concept of working to put a bathroom facility in there right now, unfortunately. It'd be nice if we could hang on to that $100,000.
Let's be realistic on this money though, and this is nothing against the Board of Health. It's been sitting there for decades. So, you know, I'm not that I don't want to believe them that it's not going to be there forever, but it's gonna. I don't think it's going anyplace anytime soon.
All right. What they did say was they felt that it's very feasible within the remaining, let's call it $97,000 or whatever, of the already appropriated Marshall Park monies, to get us to an updated, you know, plan. And they both recommended that we aim for the smaller project at this point. So I told them I would put this out to all of you, and we as a commission could decide, you know, what do we want to do in terms of next steps. Jen Warren, town manager, is encouraging us to bring the project back to town meeting. And, you know, she was also saying that she, you know, her opinion, but the, you know, the smaller project, which didn't get discussed, you know, at the Springtown meeting, might have a better chance of being seriously considered at the fall town meeting this time. She said better now than later.
I think selling the accessible playground will help, because there's some other accessible playground issues in town going on, and some other ones that are gonna come up soon.
Yeah.
So that may help with the selling point.
So just for everyone to refresh people's memories, the smaller project was what we were calling phase 1+, which means it's bringing the utilities in from Mass Ave. It's creating a larger drive entrance. It's creating parking lot off of Mass Ave for, I've lost track. I haven't looked at the notes.
Chestnut?
Nine-
90
90.
to 100.
Okay, yeah. So that would majorly improve parking for any use at the Marshall Park. It also included adding in the basketball and pickleball courts. It included adding in the fully accessible handicap playground, and it included adding in the pavilion / concession stand / bathroom facility. So if we did move ahead and ask town meeting to, you know, approve just the smaller project, we would have, you know, so many new things that would be available to people of all ages and would drastically improve parking, especially if we can get the police department to be very vigilant about parking on Chestnut Street with the new parking in place once it's completed. So I think that checks off a lot of boxes. So, you know, I told her and I told Tom and Ray that I would bring this to you all now and, you know, decide what we want to do for next steps.
I think there's a reasonable chance that the smaller project might get support.
I guess my thought is, why
I mean,
not? What do we have to lose?
If town meeting, it was like we were, I don't even know, it was like very strange what happened with that whole thing at town meeting, that we really didn't get an opportunity to even really discuss the smaller, it was
So
just
no
a-
one asked about it?
No, so
it-
what happened was the moderator, somebody
Yeah.
got up, the same person that had been moving, making motions, whatever, to move the vote.
Yeah.
Move the question, he had stood up and the moderator had said, I'm gonna let this person and this person,
Yeah.
then it goes back to you. He wasn't even letting me answer questions. And he did apologize afterwards, and I was like, this is not, for whatever reason, the way our article was dealt with was very different than some of the others. I couldn't even answer some of the questions that
No,
had
it was
been-
okay. Wait. We're gonna get back to you.
Yeah.
It was it was
And-
very strange
And
the
then
way
it
the
was
whole
brought
thing
up.
happened.
It was brought up by a select board member. She was the last comment, and he had already said he was going to back to the person to
Right.
let him move the question. So it wasn't even.
You're not
It,
gonna
it didn't. It didn't come to fruition. Here's my thing, and this may not come across as politically correct as it probably should have to come. We created a project that I think it hit every mark that we needed, and everything that anybody had asked for, we had done our best to get that in there, and I think we created that. I would like to think that part of the issue was the it coming forward at town meeting at a time where this override, which was a crazy situation to begin
Yeah,
with,
absolutely.
going through. I would like to think it was part of that. Like, part of it was, people like, we don't want to spend any money because if you're not going to fund the schools, we're not funding it. I'm not sure it was that. I think we had a user group that didn't help the situation, who feels that we are supposed to be about them and about them only. They think, and they made a public comment at town meeting, that we, for a smaller amount of money, we can fix the parking. We can do all this other stuff. We can't do any of that without taking stormwater into consideration. I don't know how many more times we needed to say that to them. They didn't listen, and instead they moved forward with their agenda, and that, I think, was part of the bigger picture, because I think that there were emails that had gone around to other people in town from some of these user groups that were like, don't support this project. Well, you're asking people not to support our project based on information that wasn't factual.
There's
And-
also a lot of wanting to go back to the good old days
Yes.
when you just gathered together a group of volunteers
Yeah.
with a bunch of rakes and shovels, and you just went and did things. And while that's wonderful and many things got done, that's not how things work anymore for lots of reasons. That's also why things are constantly needing to be repaired.
Correct.
And things are not up to code and up to standards and whatever, because when they're done that way, they're not done to the standard that they need to be to. So there was a lot of talk about, we can all just get, and it's like, we can't. That doesn't, 30, 40 years ago, things got done that way. We can't do that anymore. So I think, to your point, there was a lot of that also.
Yeah.
We don't need
Yeah.
to do all this. We can
We can
just
come in
get
and
together
do this and
and
this, and it's like,
Then
The-
why
the-
hasn't
we
it
can't.
happened?
The plan passed by a much wider margin than the override did. We were 17 votes shy. Unfortunately, we needed, 2/3
We needed
instead of
2/3, right.
half, but
Yeah.
we were 17 votes shy, I think, if my math is right, 17 votes shy of receiving 2/3. The
mean-
override passed by a vote.
The town manager immediately wanted us to try to get it reconsidered and whatever. I mean, it was a very strange. It was total
and that
chaos.
wasn't
It
that
was really
wasn't
weird the way it unfolded.
transparent
and
enough for those of us, for the three of us that were there. As we were talking about it, just wasn't. If we had been allowed to have a discussion on the smaller projects as the question was being put forward,
To get a better feel.
to get a better
I think
feel
there
of
might have been
things,
support.
we
in
might
that
have
then.
been able to do it, but now all of a sudden it was like it just wasn't transparent. It just didn't feel right to any of us to say, let's let's have them reconsider. Because then the other problem was is that people were leaving, and then it was you're changing the voting demographic of what was there, and really it should be if we were able to maybe do it right away. Possibly we would have had a different feeling, but we weren't. We were watching people leave, and then the next question, which was the municipal buildings, was up. So
Right.
that it would have
Yeah.
been an hour later that and it just didn't make
It was
any
chaos.
sense to
Those
do.
are changing the demographic from when the override vote happened. Like,
Oh, the whole-
20 or 30 people left just from there, because that was 100 and
Watching the
About
numbers go
190.
down.
And there were a whole
Nine
bunch of
people,
people
and
that
then
left in
our vote was
between
160, I think.
our
in
vote
total.
and the
Yeah.
the building project.
And you could
People
watch
left
the-
in between
Yeah,
there, and
yeah,
I
that
thought for
changed too,
sure
yeah.
everybody would have
Yeah.
been there.
And they were
for
5
both.
votes away from passing. And
Yeah.
That was 5 votes.
Yeah, I remember it was pretty close.
It
yeah.
was a very strange situation, but I feel that I don't necessarily feel optimistic that we would have support in the fall, but I definitely think it is worth trying.
If town manager can really, if this is what she thinks that we should do, and I'm fine following her lead, but if she can come up with a financial plan that makes sense, because doing just phase 1 changes our grant opportunities. It changes it significantly. So there's no $500,000 park grant that we're applying for anymore. We wouldn't be eligible for it because we don't have the correct number of parking spots. So we would only be the park grant that we would apply for, instead of $500,000, I think it's like $20,000. So the funding source needs to be pretty she needs to be able to connect all those dots, because we've always sold this project saying we're going to apply for as many grants as we could, and we still will. But I don't want anybody to look at it and say, well, they had already been awarded $1.5 million that they handed back. That's
Off the table.
That's off the table.
Yeah.
So
With the smaller project.
if Jen thinks that she can figure out a plan, funding source wise that makes sense, and helps to sell it, because again we're selling a project that's going to raise people's taxes.
My 2 cents, I'd support it, that's what this group wants to move forward with, but I'm not really personally in favor of moving forward with just part A, or part 1. I think we put the work in, I think we spent the money, I think the project is there, I think it's a well thought out project, I think it solves, doing half the project doesn't solve a lot of the major issues that actually we're trying to address over there. I mean, if we look at the park as it is right now, the major issues we have are the water leak pools on the 90-foot diamond and the parking on Chestnut Street.
And it doesn't do anything for you.
That doesn't fix
Well, it
either
would-
of those
it
issues.
would
I drove by the
help
other day,
Chestnut
the park,
Street.
you could swim on the 90-foot diamond the other day. Again, if this commission wants to move forward, just part 1, I support it, but my personal opinion is to continue to educate people and push forward with the entire, we've already scaled the project back some, and taken parts out that I think adds additional value to that area, between getting out to, having trails, trail access there, and overlooks and access to Marshall Pond.
And the dog park is not included.
Yeah, the dog park is probably the least of my, when I
I'm
look.
with you.
As a dog owner, but my dogs are pains, I wouldn't bring them over there, but,
Yeah, I wouldn't remind you.
but I see the value in that being, I've been a proponent of adding it there, but in terms of what's lost, that's the smallest piece of what I do, but when I look at Marshall Park and what the major issues are, if we're just to fix minimal things in Marshall Park, it's alleviating the water that pools on the 90-foot diamond and the parking on Chestnut Street.
Yeah.
Chestnut Street is ridiculous. It continues to be an issue.
Yep.
It's a safety issue.
For sure.
I don't know. That's just my 2.
From a facility standpoint, there is no amount of maintenance that will ever bring the park back to what it was. It was neglected for too long. It's going to need multiple major capital projects if we try to piecemeal it. So from a facility standpoint, we can keep it at the level it is now, but to improve anything, it just, again, everything we touch is going to trigger stormwater. And that's federal law, it's the EPA, there's nothing we can do.
Right.
If you're gonna do these things, you have to do it, and that's kind of where we're at, so.
Yeah, I'm also, I'm hearing those comments at town meeting, and it's not something that I would support as a commissioner, like sinking money into sort of fixing piecemeal things here and there. I think we have a plan, we know what the plan is, we know where it needs to be, we've seen it be supported throughout our entire process. I think we're to an extent wasting town dollars and taxpayer money to kind of fix little issues. Albeit, all the while, we've already heard from you that we're underfunding the existing park as it is now. So, that's to think that we have money available to maybe just fix issues when it's already underfunded. We're robbing Peter to pay Paul to get the lawn mowed. Is a little short-sighted.
From a resident standpoint, I think the biggest thing I saw and what I heard from other people, the same with the municipal building design, is I don't think anyone adequately described the fact that the primary school, the library, and the public safety building, all of that was coming off of the tax rolls, because they're all being paid off. So people saw my taxes going up by $200, but didn't realize that those other projects were coming off. I don't think
Some of
anyone
them
made
had
that connection well.
It's not entirely true.
There's some gray area in there,
There's
but,
a whole list,
but I feel like
unfortunately know this all too well.
I feel like if that was in this, that's not a comment on this group at all or anyone's presentation, because municipal design didn't. Well,
And
either.
to be honest with you, finance committee was prepared. There was at least one member of finance committee, I know because I live with them, who had the graphs ready to be able to pull up a graph to say, if this is where phase one, line graphs and everything that would move every time you clicked certain boxes off, that stuff was there. But it wasn't as clear cut as I think some people wanted to make people believe that it was. Your taxes aren't going up because this stuff's falling off. Some of the stuff had fallen off a year or two prior.
He took a screenshot from when I was asking those questions, but it was a computer screen.
Oh,
so
yeah,
it was
yeah,
just
yeah.
a pixelated thing of some
So,
colors.
it's,
And they
you
had
know,
My head
used,
was spinning anyway when I was asking them
there
questions.
was,
So.
there was some debt that had come off the books,
There
and they
was
had
some.
used the funds to pay that debt. And this was debt excluded debt, this is, and they had been using that money to pay for other things within the normal operating budget. So it wasn't like money sitting available to be used easily.
I'd be in favor of, I don't know, when we talk about that aspect, because I think that's a fair aspect, if we can get a clearer understanding of what it would actually,
so here's
what it would actually look like, I guess, like it's not gonna be,
Yes.
it's not 200s off and now we're at
But
200s,
this
so
is-
nothing's gonna change.
This
It's-
is what makes it different than
Can
our
we
typical tax
educate
levy
people?
situation, is that if we didn't do this project, that they wouldn't have to spend that money because it's not part of the typical tax levy. So I get the whole stuff's dropping off and this could slide in to replace it, sure, but at the end of the day, anybody that's paying attention to how a debt exclusion works, if we don't take out a loan for this additional debt, taxpayers aren't spending that money. So it's not as, for me anyway, it's not as simple as saying, oh, we're just gonna roll this right in its place because, we've got all this rolling off, so your taxes aren't gonna increase when people actually wanna see their taxes go down. So
Right.
if we, a lot of people, I know there were a lot of people there that voted no because they don't want their taxes to go up. And this, by not doing another debt exclusion on either project, this will mean that their taxes they will see a difference in their taxes in the next tax cycle. But I don't know what the
What's
time.
the net, I guess I'm trying to think the net, and if we can spell, if we're educated enough and we're demonstrating what the actual net gain or loss is, does that move the needle enough to, I don't know.
Well, that brings us back to Karen's point of, work with the town manager to put together a very clear funding picture. And that's part of the funding picture.
I think what's been made quite clear is lots of people have no clue how municipal government works.
Yep.
A 2.5 is, that 2.5, that's forever. Once you vote that's forever, it's gone up. The debt exclusions, once they come off, it goes back.
Right.
And I didn't know that before I started working here. I wouldn't have had a clue. And I think lots of people are that way. They have too much going on to pay attention to this. Then they see, Facebook posts, and that's what they run with. That's why it was disappointing when people were like, oh, they could just do the parking. It was, well,
No.
no, that's a false statement.
And we tried, that's a battle that I think we've tried to answer those questions for quite a long time. They just chose to run with what they wanted to run with.
They don't want to interrupt the season.
Right, and well, I mean, seasons have to get interrupted
Spade
when
is
you,
spade.
when you have to improve a field or a location, seasons get interrupted. And I mean, how many years was Lysa off the school fields because the
Right.
high school was being built? It's just the nature of the beast of what comes with it. But, I will remind everybody that we are not, as a park commission, we are here to represent the town as a whole. Every single member of our community, from, not walking all the way up to, our seniors that are, showing up in, with a walker. That is our responsibility. That's what we're here for. So I think as we make decisions, we can't just focus in on a single user group. We need to look at the community as a whole and make the decisions that are best for them. That said, do we go forward with the smaller project in the fall where we, part of me would be annoyed as a taxpayer if, and I know communities do this, they keep going until they finally win. Do we steam forward and try to push a full project forward in the fall? I don't know how I'd feel as a taxpayer. Part of me is like, well, they just lost, now they're gonna try again. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Or do we try to move forward with a partial project in hopes that people see once the partial project's done that they're gonna be like, wow, like this is fantastic, we should really be doing the whole thing, and then, a year from now we're putting forward the full project. While I'm kicking myself saying if we had just done it all together, we would have been eligible for more grants.
And save money. I mean,
and
what's
save
the
money.
additional cost if we do, like, part one, and then we decide 2 years from now, like, oh, now we're okay, and let's all embrace part two.
So maybe we
and the
need to
cost
put
goes
that
into-
together for the fall, work with the town manager and figure out if we do this piece, like what are we losing in grant possibilities and, just economy by doing it all now and not waiting 2 years because we know that if you wait 10 minutes, your prices go up. Because I agree with you about only doing part of the project. However, to your point, it actually makes that park more of a community park. Even the smaller phase, it doesn't improve on the real issues that are Chestnut Street. It maybe with some police presence, it does help the parking. It doesn't help the 90-foot diamond, but that's a small user group compared to the community where you'd be adding things that would make it a community
But it doesn't
place,
have to be a
even
small
though
user
it's
group either.
the.
Like, I look at that 90-foot diamond, when it's rearranged, that, at least the outfield portion, that becomes a multi-purpose.
But currently it's not.
Currently,
So you know what I'm
it's
saying,
not,
though, is
and most of
adding the
time it
phase
was the same
one
as the school fields
with-
because they're soaking wet.
But as adding
Serviceable.
the smaller phase with pickleball and basketball and the playground and whatever makes it more of a community park than it currently is. So even though it doesn't address those big problems, it does give something for people to come. And to your point, maybe they would say, "Oh, this is great. We want to do the other part, but what's the risk? And what are we turning away by potentially not being able to?"
I don't think
Get
there's
the
a
grant
risk
money.
in bringing
I mean-
anything. I mean, either project going forward, there is no risk because at the end of the day, everybody in this commission has always said the town gets to make the decision, whatever the town decides. So we could come forward a million times because I will always stand by the fact we just spent your money. If we're spending your money and we're going to continue to spend the remaining money because we need to, it's use it or lose it, then you should have that, the town as a whole should have that decision to make. The question is, what size project we decide to bring forward. I don't know, maybe the skate park going in will bring people down there, and they'll finally realize what we're actually up against.
I do think the override is not going to go away. That's going to be a perennial problem.
Yep.
Until something changes. So I think it's always going to be, that's going to be a factor of people like, okay, well, you know, I think that's what probably hurt the decision most recently is that people didn't want their taxes going up because of the override, and so, and also the Parks Commission, or not commission, but Marshall Park. So I think that every year that's going to be a factor. So in my thinking that it's going to be more likely that somebody would vote for a smaller section, like taking an elephant and putting in a smaller bite and saying, okay, this is more palatable, has more chance of being approved and such.
So run me through the what if scenario, Anita. If we were to bring a smaller project forward at town meeting, it would be November. We wouldn't even be looking at breaking ground until the fall.
Well, it would require another election because it's a debt
Correct.
exclusion.
Yep.
So, you know, that would be a question for the town manager, but, you know, she was willing to, you know, to let, you know, votes go, you know, from, if the ballot question had passed, you know, for the project, even despite town meeting not approving it, there was, you know, every possibility that we could have had a revote at the town meeting in the fall and still connect it to that ballot question that, you know, passed, which it didn't. And that would be a complete vote. Authorization to move ahead, completed, done. So the same should hold true that if we had a meeting in the fall and town meeting approved, say, the smaller project, the ballot question would be in the spring. But that means we couldn't move the project ahead until summer of 2026 instead of
Okay.
fall of,
And even that would be a tight timeline between just the bidding process.
Yep.
But
Well, I'm just like thinking in my head, like if we went through with a small project in the fall, part of me thinks it's as much as I want the large project to go through, part of me is sitting here saying, we just did all that, and we, you know, to try to go forward with another large project 6 months after this last one, you know, I don't know. I feel like we should present the smaller project to see where it goes, but at the same time agreeing with Chris of like, it's not going to solve our biggest problems that are there. If we put something through in the fall and it does get approved, can we put the other half of the project through in annual town meeting in May and try to see if we could do it that way? And then that would make us eligible again for some of these larger grants. It's a ton of work on our part, though.
I feel like
It
it's
is
a
a
bait and
ton.
switch.
I,
I'm more insulted as a taxpayer, I'm more insulted.
To
Well,
do it
and
that way.
I kind of agree
Okay.
with you.
Interesting.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's
I
fine. It was just something that was floating in my head.
Yeah.
We just voted, we just gave
Yeah.
them money and now they're coming back to us.
Now
6
they
months
now
later
they
for
want this.
more
Like,
money to actually really get the full project.
They can always vote no.
They did, they can, but but there's a taste in my mouth at
Yeah,
that point.
I see.
But they'd be
Well,
voting no for a different reason.
And you'd
They,
be
they might
asking-
be voting no because they're insulted versus they feel
Sure.
they can't afford it.
and you'd also be asking for money before actually we even started the work.
Right.
Right.
I would be in support of bringing the smaller project forward to town meeting in the fall. And the reason why is that, you know, I mentioned before that it checks almost all the boxes. It doesn't check all of them. The fields will not be touched. The softball field and the 90-foot diamond will not be touched. But it brings the park back to a higher level of our population. We, you know, now have something for younger kids, for older kids. You know, there's the basketball back again. And the, you know, people of all ages enjoy the pickleball. And, you know, then plus having, you know, hopefully the skate park will be built this summer, as they're still hoping it will be. And, you know, it'll be a much more vibrant area. And that will bring people. And they'll see what this park could be if the rest of it was finished. And, you know, I do believe it will help parking on Chestnut Street. And if, you know, may not be 100%, but we can work with the police department to try to, you know, make sure that we're not blocking the roadway to one-way traffic during games anymore. You know, groups will be told that they have to park in the parking lot. you know, and maybe we leave some parking spaces available along Chestnut Street, but put more signage and police enforce it for a change, you know, so, I just think if we bring back the full project in the fall, to me, we're telling people we didn't listen.
Yeah, then that's what I was sort of feeling, like it's just too soon to, because we have listened and we've listened all along, but I sometimes feel like half of what we say falls on deaf ears anyway. So, you know, it would make me feel a little bit better about bringing the smaller project that we weren't able to present at.
Yes.
And if we had been able to present both projects, we'd be probably having a different
I
conversation
agree.
right now. But we
Yes.
weren't able to present that smaller project. You know, and, you know, making sure that as people are asking questions on the floor, we can answer those questions, and not let them, you know, wait till the end and not get to them, or, you know, that sort of thing.
I think we maybe want to have a discussion about, I know that fall town meeting is generally shorter, but it still could go until 11 o'clock or something, so we might want to have a discussion about where we are presenting.
Yeah.
Like what order, and you know, where
So
we
we-
come in that too. I don't know.
Yeah, that 100,000-ish that's left, would that be enough to get us to presenting a smaller project at town meeting? And
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you know, what we need to do is if that's the route we want to take, the next steps we have to take are confirm with the finance director that our rough math is correct, so that we have a firm number as to how much would be left. We need to go back to Tom and say, this is what we'd like to do. Can you please confirm for us that this amount of money will get us to X, Y, and Z deliverables in time for fall town meeting? And if they say yes, then we go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that's,
Is there a way to use fall town meeting to present option one, like the smaller project, all the while educating people on what's being sacrificed by not doing the full project? And
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
allow the full project to be voted on again?
In-
Like, is there-
Reverse what we did this time.
Sort of.
Start with the small and offer the big as a.
Like, just say, here's, I mean,
Yeah.
we're bringing this back to the, you know, to the table, which was an option that we had in our pocket in May, and unfortunately, just the way it worked, it just didn't, you know, it only came up as the last comment, and so there wasn't an option for it to be in discussion. You know, and this is the value added, however, this is what's lost, and if we don't.
I think it's okay to make those kind of statements, but if we're asking the town manager to put energy and effort into helping us build a viable and understandable funding program for what we propose at town meeting, she's not gonna wanna do it for two different scenarios. She's gonna want us to, I would assume, if I were in her shoes, I'd want you guys to just choose what you wanna do. What do you wanna do right now? And I'll help you get the information you need.
are you asking that question, meaning you would want to go to town meeting special town meeting in the fall to do a presentation versus an actual warrant question?
No, I didn't know, like, if, I didn't know there's an option to vote on both, or change, I guess amend the article.
To amend it
Amend the article-
backwards
amend the
from
article
what we were
backwards.
gonna do.
Yeah.
I would.
Based on the discussion of, here's what we're gonna, like, this is option
That's
one.
really what I was getting
and
at
we're-
about like
You know, we're okay with
presenting
this.
There's-
what.
However, when we do this, if we do just option one, we're not able to reapply
Right.
for $500,000 grant here, or does it affect the $1 million grant? Does it affect, like what are we, this is what we're losing, and it's gonna cost you, you know, at
There's-
some point, all this work has to be done, like, I mean,
There's a technical difference here. So when we came forward to the Springtown meeting, we were going for the larger project, and we're only considering the smaller project as a fallback position if we felt like town meeting would even be willing to discuss it. That falls in line with what you're legally able to discuss at town meeting and how you're legally able to amend an article, because it's still within the scope. I would argue, although I'm not town council, but I would argue that going from bringing a smaller project
Increasing
to
the
town
funding,
meeting and then expecting people to ask, to go back to the full one is the exact opposite and not
Yeah.
acceptable.
Yes. It wouldn't have been, the public wouldn't have had enough notice
Right,
to come and, vote or share their concerns.
right.
It also gets into the ballot issues of what's on
Right,
the ballot,
what's on
'cause
the
it-
ballot.
depending on when things get printed.
So, doesn't mean we can't still explain to people that it would have been nice if we could have done the full project, because this is, these would have been the benefits, but we heard you, and that's why we're bringing the smaller project back.
But then in that context,
Great
I always
point.
feel like that's a negative to the smaller part at that point, and put a pin in it until we have the fund, until everyone supports the full project, so we're maximizing the grant money we're gonna get.
Which we can do too. That's an option too. The other option would be to wait until
Next spring town
next
meeting.
spring town meeting to present something, or even if necessary the year after. I know that there is a tri-board committee starting up to start talking about town finances, and I think that if there's going to be a town-wide override, it's going to come through from that group. I do not expect it to happen this fall. I think if we're gonna see it, it will probably be next spring. So are we timing, is that a concern? Or is it, but again, it's, we have all of this work done, right? Yes, it's gonna cost us more money if we keep kicking the can down the line a little bit more, but, do we wait till, next spring? Or do we wait till even, a year from November and bring the full project forward versus bringing a smaller project forward? Financially, if I was looking at it financially, knowing what we've already secured for grants, I'd say we're crazy for not bringing the full project forward because we've already secured. But at the same time, I also know that the land and water grant, we probably wouldn't get the full $1 million because it's cutting out pieces that we had to cut back on pieces
The
that
wetland
were
trails
used to- right.
were kind of a major scoring
Right.
help
Point
with
by
us.
So, I don't know.
We can't do anything until the ballot vote next spring anyway, so what is the drawback or, right, we might be up against an override again in the spring, however, in the fall, I think to your point, the override is not going away, so people are still gonna be talking about it, thinking about it, if there's, gonna be a group looking, I don't know, is anybody in the fall gonna say, yes, let's do it now, or are they gonna say, oh no, we're gonna do this now, and then they're gonna come at us with another override, and I don't know,
But
timing wise,
that's a
I don't
good-
know.
That's a good point, because even if they say yes in the fall, the ballot question doesn't happen until the spring. All the people who are pro-override are gonna find all reasons to tell, to yet again tell people, forget that park project, we've got bigger concerns, and it's
And
almost
we
better
were
if
gonna
they were
have talked
closer
in
together.
November,
Yeah.
right.
I don't like that. I personally don't like that gap between if this is what would actually happen if we were bringing it forward to special town meeting in November and it does pass, waiting 6 months to vote on it. I have an issue with that because there's so many things that can change within that 6 months.
And that will change,
Right.
because November,
Right.
you're
So
barely
I
beginning
feel
budget
like
season.
if we're going to put something forward, part of me thinks we should just put it forward, say in the spring, even if it's a smaller project, so that the vote's 2 weeks after, not 6 months after.
Yeah,
But
I see logic in that,
unless
totally.
Jen was thinking that she was thinking that there was going to have to be a special election in there, for something else anyway.
She didn't mention that,
So
but it's worth having a conversation with her.
Yeah.
But I agree, waiting that whole 6 months for the ballot, I don't think that will work out. In your email, who was it? One of them said, either Tom or Ray said, they didn't know if they'd have everything done, but enough to talk about it.
Yep.
So maybe we take the time to let them get it more done, and then we take that
Well, it
late
wasn't so much
winter
time, it was the available funds.
Okay, so it wasn't, all right.
Can I
But-
ask a stupid question? I think this sounds like finishing the design is a good idea either way.
Mm-hmm.
And then when do we have to make it, or when does the commission, because I don't get a vote, have to make a decision on whether or not to put it on the fall town meeting?
Probably not till October, right?
Because
gotta
I feel like there's a lot of
September.
unanswered questions that may help that, help you guys come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
You know, if it's X, Y, and Z
What
with
is it,
this
the second
tri-board
week
thing,
of
and they have a plan somewhat laid out by that time, it may help you make the decisions. And unfortunately, I can't tell you, I haven't heard any dates of cutoffs for a fall town meeting yet, but
I was trying to look. I haven't heard the date yet, but I was looking to see if there was anything popped up.
usually as staff, we get notified early because we have different deadlines than everyone else.
Aren't you special?
Our deadlines are earlier.
I know.
You're reversely special.
So what if we did this, Anita? What if we just, whoever, whether it's you and me or whoever, continue to work with Tom and Ray, because some of whatever's left from ARPA needs to be expended by the end of this year.
I don't know, I'd have to double check.
So what if we can just continued on that path, knowing that at some point, whether it's a special town meeting in the fall, annual town meeting in May, or a meeting in the next year after that, something will be brought forward for this park again. And, you know, so just going off of that something will be brought forward in the next year or two, timing to be determined, and just, you know, finished what we've started in terms of, I mean, the ARPA money needs to be expended. I think.
I think actually, between these bills that we just approved and the other 3,500, that ARPA money will almost all be spent anyways.
Okay.
It was coming more from other sources,
Okay,
but that's one of the first things we would need to do is to get that confirmed with
okay.
Ezzy, so,
Do you wanna still run the financial side of Marshall?
no. I'll help,
Okay.
but, I don't wanna,
I didn't keep all that, I mean, I know the basics of it, I just didn't do the nitty gritty of it. So here's my next question to you guys. This past year, it's been Anita and I that have been meeting with Tom and Ray. And the reason that is because there's only two of us, we're not a majority of the board, so it doesn't have to be posted and we can meet. Is it the will of the board that they wanna leave it this way, or do we have one or two other people that wanna step in and take over?
I'm willing to bow out if anybody wants to step in.
And here's my case on this, is that, or my stance on this. I'm here for 11 months. I'm gonna be, this is the start of my 10th year. I don't think that an elected body should have somebody that's been sitting on it for 10 years. It's just, that's a lot. So my plan is to be done. If you don't move this project forward, or if we don't move this project forward at either special town meeting or annual town meeting, and it's gonna go after that, half of the knowledge base is gone. And I'd hate to see that happen either.
It's virtual, you meet virtually.
They meet virtually, I'm sure the time, right now it's like Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, that would, I'm sure, have to change,
That
because
could-
it's got new projects that they've
Yeah.
taken on board.
Yeah, so that could change, it might not have to be as, frequent, but it may be wise for the commission to have somebody else step up, that's, planning on being around for a while. And if there's two new people, all the power to them, and, we can make that happen, and, Anita and I would just be in the background for support if there's questions and stuff that come up.
I'm happy to start attending the meeting, that's fine, I don't mind starting to attend.
Okay, so
I'm a
I'll
couple-
step back.
I'm a couple years still here anyway.
See how she was very quick to step back?
She already
Well,
stepped back.
and I was gonna say, I would go to the meetings, but I'm not.
You're done with
I'm
me
not
next
gonna
year.
run again.
Do you have any, Marianne, do you have any, if you have interest in it,
I
that's
feel
fine,
like I need to
that's fine.
do the
that's
learning
fine.
curve a
That's
little bit
fine.
more longer,
Okay.
but
I
appreciative of
wanna
your
be clear, Anita, I don't have a great handle on the finance piece of it, so I'm a little bit nervous to have you
I'm not stepping back out totally. I just won't, I won't attend the design team Zoom meetings.
Okay,
But I'm there to answer any questions that I
Okay.
can.
okay. Can you at least close the loop with Tom and Ray?
Yep.
For us and before you completely pass the baton?
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I know specifically what we're asking them to do. Yes, help us spend down all remaining money. And we can't start that until we get maybe you can reach out to Izzy and say, what exactly do we have left? Because you know the invoices that we just signed off.
Yeah.
So,
So maybe I should wait a week to get those invoices processed so then he can give us an exact figure?
I'll send them a message that said, looks like we still want to continue with finishing off, spending what we have to continue design work as is appropriate. We don't know if it's going to be full project or small project yet.
It's the most responsible way for us to
Right.
spend money.
And then- and then-
Sooner than
and-
later. Just it's
That-
not a
that's
great
the
time to
most-
be Etsy.
That nets
I
the,
know.
you know,
Well, I want to make sure we have the
Stuff we
actual,
need.
like the actual numbers and what
He'll-
we just put.
He should be able to quickly,
Okay.
if, he's got that spreadsheet that, I had him fix it because he still had listing of the park grant monies in there, so some monies that he had allocated to the park grant, I had him take out of ARPA to spend that down. So that's why I'm thinking we're pretty close to, on the ARPA anyways, but yeah, so he's got a nice new spreadsheet, and you can just double check with him that $16,000 one went through, because that was the one that Angela had to redo a submittal on, because they had to go to the different account number. And then now the two that we just approved tonight, and then we know we've got a new $3,500 one coming, hopefully within a couple days.
Okay, I can do that. All right, while we're on the topic of Marshall Park, the skate park did ask to come and talk to us one day. They have like a 3D model. Have you seen it yet?
haven't seen
I
the-
guess they have a 3D good fancy model, so I told them I'd get back to them with what day we were gonna meet after this. So, all right, are we done with Marshall then? Clear as mud.
Yeah,
Perfect.
kind of, but that's, yeah.
Do you guys need me for anything else?
No, we want you to run.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Go take care of some weeds, would you?
Yeah, Marianne, you are welcome at any point to reach out to Chris or Angela, even if you just want to come in, get,
Thanks.
sort of more of lay of the lands.
Oh,
They're
I'm gonna
great.
give this to our new vice chair,
What is this?
the key to
Key
the
to
building.
Here.
Oh,
You got an official key?
No one gets official keys.
Oh.
Not until the new lock system.
I don't, okay, I wouldn't go there. Okay. All right, next is minutes for approval. I think there's one set in the, I didn't do the last two sets, I'll be
Why
clear
don't
on
we
that.
just push those off to
Yeah,
next
let's- yeah,
meeting?
let's do that.
I didn't look
I
at
thought
any-
I had
didn't look at any
I
minutes.
had uploaded one of our last meeting minutes, like literally like the day after we had it. I had done the minutes.
And with town meeting,
Yeah, so
none of
the-
us paid any attention.
That's perfectly fine. I will go back and do the last two sets. And the reason I'm doing them is because we didn't, our minutes person is remote and we didn't have, at least one of the meetings wasn't
Right.
recorded, so,
I see.
that's easy enough. All right,
you usually send
I thought I did, but
a monthly folder, don't you send a monthly?
it's
Yeah,
usually in
usually
like
it's
a, pending folder.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't remember seeing anything. Like,
it's possible that we don't have.
unless
it.
really it was right after the last meeting, and I just
I thought I did
blocked
right
it out.
after the last meeting, but
So maybe you did.
give me a half a second and I'll tell you.
Motion on 4/9.
That would have been the,
Last mail ad.
I have, in the pending folder is minutes from March 26th. So Marianne, what I'll do you have a town email yet?
I do.
Okay, what I'll do is, I will, forward you a link to our SharePoint, and I do try to send out, anytime I add something in there, I will send something to the group to say, minutes have been added, and I, keep everything on the SharePoint so that there's like all of our pending minutes, all of our approved minutes, and things like that. So, and I will make sure you see the document we have. It's not up to date because the high schooler that updated it for me, I haven't combined them yet, but we do have a list of all motions that have been made and the votes. So you can see if we've made any policy or something that, you know, we might have forgotten about or whatever. All right, open space committee representative assignment. It had been one of our previous members, so that space is open. I think they're meeting once a month. They're actually a fun group of people. They're the ones that are charged with, like right now, there's a piece of property coming out of chapter, I think on Townsend Harbor Road, West Townsend Road, New Townsend Road, New something other road.
That's
What is it?
9.
I don't remember off the
Oh,
top
is
of my
that the
head.
one down on Townsend Harbor that we
No,
said
There's
we
a-
didn't want?
That's coming.
No,
up
there's
for
there's
sale.
another one coming up.
Actually, that might have passed already. I think that was May that was.
There's another one because the notice was submitted to the town in the last like few days or something, because it was mentioned last night. That's coming out of chapter. It's actually in recreation chapter, which I thought was interesting because the people that they put it in front of were Open Space, AgCom, and I don't remember who the other. I thought there were 3 boards. I was sort of surprised where it's coming out of recreation chapter. They wouldn't have like looped us in. I don't know, but that's what that group does. That Open Space will review properties that are coming out of chapter to see if they can be used anywhere in town, because the town gets the right of first refusal, and they have other. small
They're also
things to do.
responsible for open space planning.
Yep, the open space plan, which I don't know when the next one's due, because we just finished one in the last 3
It's
years
gonna,
or so.
They're gonna have to start working on it soon, because it ends in 26.
Okay,
So,
so
which is probably why he's anxious to make sure that there's reps.
could be. Could
I'll
be.
do that if nobody else wants to.
I will
It's
motion
monthly?
for. I believe so. I will motion for Colleen Shapiro to
Second.
take the perfect.
She's so quick.
Can I take a vote on that? All in favor? Aye. All right. Do you know Mike Toohill?
Nope.
Okay, sweet. Do you know Anna Lockwood?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. One of them will reach out to you.
Okay.
And I will make sure that they're aware of that.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I'm
Colleen.
here because of Anna Lockwood reaching out to
Yeah, there
me.
you go.
So.
There you go.
Look like
We all are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have a new recording secretary. Our previous one resigned a couple months ago. So now we have a gentleman by the name of Anthony Sinisi. He was ratified last night by the select board. Have you been in contact with him,
No,
Anita?
not directly.
So I'll figure out how we're going to be in contact with him. I don't know. I do know that there's a lot of new recording clerks floating around in town. So it sounds like we might have backups if this person doesn't end up working. The problem with not that it was a problem, our last person wasn't overly detailed. My child. He wasn't necessarily detail oriented, so I'm gonna try to be a little bit better with getting back to the assistant town manager if we have issues with minutes this time around, because the last time I was spending a lot of time editing, and I don't need to do that if we're paying somebody. Do you have any chair updates? Because I got none.
No.
Okay, other than saying that the, well, let me put a chair update in there, even though I'm making it up on a whim. The skate park wants to come and meet with us and present their 3D model. So I told Anthony Ciozo yesterday that we'd get back to him with a date. Does anybody have an issue for them to come? Okay.
No, that's great.
I'd also like to entertain inviting town manager to one of our meetings. And really, we really need to start getting into the financials of the rec department / facilities piece of what we do. Because we are spending an exorbitant amount of money and we bring in very little money and we don't have a very large user base. So I think we need to start getting a better understanding of what our financial picture looks like. And it should come from her, not me, because I don't like dealing with money lately.
Yeah, I think that's so important because, to be honest, as a town manager, I would attend many different meetings. And if it was something, like the Parks Commission, working on a project, paying, having a contract with a, design firm and an OPM firm, et cetera, I would always had access to know exactly where the money was at any day. And it feels so weird relying on other people to give us numbers that aren't even up to date, you
Yeah.
know? So if there's a way we can improve that situation, I think we
And
really
we
need
have
to.
expenses that, you know, I think that, you know, even though we have a budget for town fields, for maintenance of our town fields, there's other things that come up. There is a decent amount of money that comes out of our revolving account. Money in our revolving account that's not from the user fees directly related to those,
Those items.
those facilities. And, you know, we've talked for years about trying to get a recreation director on full-time. And the thought process, that I had actually presented to the select board, back when, was it last fall? It was, you know, Anita and Anna, and I'd gone and presented, and, you know, the thought process was we'd be able to start being a self-sufficient, self-funded group like many other recreation departments are in the Commonwealth. And if we're going to be expending things for repairs of facilities, we're not going to be able to do that. We're going to be spending more money on the repairs because we're not bringing in enough in user fees, I guess is my point.
And we had started the process of reviewing the user fees, and we have some data. Probably, we only got information from what, like a third of the towns that we reached out to. But when we're ready to put that back on the agenda, Chris and I have information we
Okay.
can.
Yeah, and that's hard too, and I think I've said it before. It's like, you know, at the end of the day, we are still our own distinct town with spending needs and financial needs that are independent of us. But, you know, as we're looking at what other towns charge for user fees, we don't know what their big picture is. We don't know what they're expending for field maintenance. We don't know if they, you know, all their little bits and pieces in there. So it's, you know, it's nice to have an idea, but I think at the end of the day, I think we're probably going to have to make decisions that make work for Lunenburg and our community. So, and it would be, I think we need to put a push to really have those discussions, probably starting in September, so that we can make a decision September, October timeframe, so that if we change any user fees, that the user groups know we're changing their fees before they put
Before
out
they advertise for the next,
registrations.
We might wanna do it
earlier.
sooner,
We can do August, September.
August maybe, cause if we talk about it in August and we review or vote in September maybe, cause I don't think it's gonna be something we're gonna vote
No,
in
and
the same meeting.
I would not vote it
'Cause
on
we'll-
the same meeting.
No, because I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions of the finance director and the town manager that we're gonna need their input on.
Yep.
On things before we can
Yeah.
vote anything.
So I'll see what I can get from Jen and from Ezzy. Do any commission members have any updates? Nothing? I don't think we've had any correspondence or announcements. We have nobody to make a public comment. So
Next meetings?
next meeting. So we had switched to the fourth Wednesday, which, the fourth Wednesday.
Fourth Wednesday of the
and
month, yeah.
I threw us off this last time. The fourth Wednesday of June is the 25th of June. Do we want to meet in 3 weeks?
I'm out of town.
You're out of town.
I am as well.
She's out of that. That seals that deal. Do we want to try to see if I can pull off something the third Wednesday in July instead of waiting almost 2 months to meet again, or do you want to just go to the 23rd of July?
I'm out of town the 23rd.
I'm out of town both those dates.
The 16th and the 23rd?
Yep.
Okay. To be honest with you, I
Middle of the
don't
night.
think we
Middle of the
have, I don't think
Summer
we
is hard.
have I don't think we have really anything pressing that's coming up. I think the stuff that's gonna be coming up is Chris and I will start working with, the design team on the rest of what we have for money. But I don't think there's any real decisions that we need to be making as a commission, so it's okay.
Unless the
Let it
design
go.
team says they need us to make up our minds fast. Are we going for the small project or are we going for the big project?
Okay.
Which we could have a quick,
Yeah, we could throw together a quick,
we could do a quick meeting.
we can even do a quick Zoom meeting on whenever anybody's free. So do we wanna stick with the fourth Wednesday? Well, that would be July 23rd. Somebody said they were away.
I'm away,
I'm
but
away.
feel free to meet.
That's okay, no, cause
It's like everybody's.
I'm out.
they were all away.
Yeah.
The 30th of July?
30th is
I
good.
think I'm good.
I'm away.
Damn.
I want your
Nice.
schedule.
I'm
I know where she's
flying
go-
in
oh,
from
you're-
Poland that night.
going to
I
Poland?
think, yeah, I'm gonna arrive at Logan at like 8:30 p.m. on the 30th,
Perfect.
assuming
Maybe
all
a big
goes
agenda, we'll
well.
still be
Bring you
meeting.
back to
Yeah, bring you back whenever you want.
Chris, like, that's where he works.
Oh, is that where he's like?
Not
based
right
in?
now. Right
Yeah,
now he's
yeah,
in the
but-
Middle East, but
yeah.
before that, he spent 5 years in a tremendous number of days in Poland. He loves it over there.
Well, that's yeah, you need to have him tell me his
Yes, I will.
favorite places.
All right. So what did we say about the 30th? No.
That
Yes?
works for me.
Thumbs up here.
I'm fine.
Okay, let's aim for the 30th. Colleen can do whatever it is that she's doing.
Airplanes have Wi-Fi, should be fine.
Yeah.
Really.
Can you imagine? So we'll meet on July 30th. I'll see if the skate park's available to come. While we're here then, why don't we look at August? That would be the 27th of August if we did the 4th. I'm a little leery on that only because I would like to head on our camping trip.
I'm gonna have
Oh,
a.
you leave when?
We usually leave Thursday, but I'm hoping to go the whole week.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
I'm gonna have a college kid
camper.
move in that week, but
Oh.
I don't know when.
You want the week of the 20th or the 27th?
The week of the 27th, I think.
What's everybody look like on the 20th of August?
August is open for me. At this point.
Yeah, I'm here.
Let's see.
I'm here, August 20th. Midtown.
20th of August.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's put in there. I'll have to find locations for all of this.
So we're doing the 20th?
Yeah, so we'll do the July 30th and August 20th.
Okay.
All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned at 8:45.
Moved,
Um,
seconded, whatever.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.